Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Your favorite podcast, it's Critical Blast.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish. They're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
And I'm Scott Wakefield, host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham, where we talk about comic books and all kinds of great storytelling, sometimes with incredible guests. And we want you to join us Wednesday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you there.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Ladies and gentlemen, hey Rob. All right, it is Wednesday, and that means it is Silverline's Wednesday Wham, and we are here to talk about all things pop culture, comic books, storytelling, the craft of storytelling, movies, literature, and we didn't expect Rob to be able to join us. He's doing his side gig, right? Driving people hither and thither.
Yeah.
And they're a little advertised. Tonight's show not brought to you by Texas Roadhouse, but have you had your dinner yet, Rob?
We're waiting to get in. That's why I figured I could get on for a couple of minutes.
That's nice of you. I like the view. This is good. Out of your normal.
Nice sky, nice weather. Yeah.
Where are you
right now?
Geographic in Iowa?
Iowa. Yep.
Yay, my home state.
Yep.
We're in
You'd
Iowa.
like that. Right across from Moline. I'm not sure what city we're in.
Well, you must be in Davenport then.
Probably in Davenport. It's the Quad Cities. It could be any of four.
Yep. So
I
you're
think
about
it is Davenport.
you're about half an hour from my hometown.
Yeah. About 5 hours from my town.
Does he have to drive? You have to drive home after dinner?
No, we're going to go back in the morning.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you had
tournament.
a few minutes. And yes, Vic, Rob is close. Rob is close to the camera there.
Yeah.
This phone, I'm sure.
Right,
there we go.
There we go.
Then it gets a little shaky. That's good. Folks, I missed you all last week. I hope I didn't get a chance to watch the show. Barb, thank you for covering and running the show. Had a great trip. We took a little family vacation, took a drive to North Carolina, and then South Carolina. I have family in both of the Carolinas, and we had a van packed with 7 people in our luggage, and things went beautifully. I got my Butterfinger Blizzard from Dairy Queen on my way home. We don't have one. The closest Dairy Queen to me is about an hour away. I know I can make it, but that's one of my road trip indulgences to get a Dairy Queen. And everything went well. We're listening to Horatio Hornblower on the audio, our books on tape, to put it in terms for some of you out there, our audio books. And I very much enjoy the Horatio Hornblower series. So that is me in last week. Barb, how's things? What's new? Anything good?
Well, if I all of a sudden seem like I'm having a psychotic break on camera tonight, it's because we went walking in a field earlier this afternoon. Yeah, and at supper we suddenly noticed something crawling on Dick's
arm. No, I figured something had to be an animal of some sort. Yeah.
Ticks. There are ticks, and we found several of them so far.
Oh no!
Even though I've changed clothes, I've gone through my. That's why my hair looks so wild.
I'm feeling it too. I'm feeling it.
If I start freaking out, I found another one.
Found a tick. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And Rob, what are you working on? I don't mean right now. What's on your work schedule?
I finished up the cover for Boston Bombers last night, inking it. And when I get home, I'll scan it in and color it.
Excellent. And
moving right along with that.
That's something you and Ron Forty are working on, correct?
Yes, Boston Bombers, a set of female adventurers in an alternate universe.
Oh,
so yeah,
very cool. Very cool. All right. And before I forget to mention it, everybody out there, if you're not getting the Silverline newsletter, I encourage you to go to silverlinecomics.com. There will be a pop-up. You can't avoid it. It'll be there. Put your email in, and you are not bombarded with annoying spam every month or so, every so often.
I'm sorry.
We give you updates. When I say we, most of it's Roland sending out emails and updates during our Kickstarter campaigns, and some news on how our titles go. And one very cool thing, we have a one URL now to. Hello, everyone. Hello, golfers.
That's the group. You're on a podcast.
And, what's your favorite comic book?
Oh, mine.
Who's your favorite comic book artist? Rob Davis.
Who's your favorite?
Say Rob Davis.
Comic book artist.
Rob.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right answer. Correct answer.
I do.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Okay.
Good job.
Yeah, I figured I'd come in and check and see how it was progressing. I'm usually on a podcast on Wednesday night, so. But since we're waiting, I thought I'd just give it a shot.
What was I saying? Oh, so Silverline news out there. We have a URL that will direct you to our Kickstarter campaigns. And if you didn't know, every other month we launch two titles or continue 2 titles on Kickstarter. And we have put that link, I believe it's shared everywhere here and there on all of our socials. And this is where I remind you, before I forget, be sure always to go like, share, subscribe, and all those good things to Facebook. And we're on Twitter, and we're on Instagram, and we're on TikTok, and we're on LinkedIn. And am I missing anything, Barb? I'm not sure.
Is it Instagram, LinkedIn?
Yes.
You say YouTube?
YouTube. Oh yeah. Go make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, so you can get all of our shows, and you can get updated. Now, what I'm asking you to do after the show, don't navigate away, or maybe just open a new tab, is go find that link and get over to Kickstarter and get notified on our next campaign, because that is coming up in a few short weeks. Time flies, because we just finished up our April campaign, right? That was the Steam Patriots. And for all of you out there, again, thank you. I will thank you many, many times over. Those will be in your hands very soon. I believe Roland gave the update in the newsletters that the Kickstarter has released the funds. All the artwork is set, so printing will begin very soon, and then they will go in the mail. And Vic, yes, he is hyped for Boston Bomber, as am I. Lots of good stuff comes out of Rob's hands and Ron's mind. And yeah, Vic, you are younger than just about everybody. You are just a wee lad.
He's a guppy.
Let's see. In Pendulum and Obsoletes, yes, that's the next. Yes, thank you. Good job. Those are coming very soon. We have lots and lots of titles. If you want to grab titles, we would love for you to do that. SilverlineComics.com or go over to Indie Planet, and you can find all of our titles there. Okay, that is the pitch to open the show here. We are talking tonight. We have entitled, and this is a title Rory came up with, and it was supposed to be his idea. And
and he didn't show up.
I don't see Rory anywhere. I'm calling you out, Rory Boyle. I think he's visiting family. And so, what is that? Is there an airplane?
Getting feedback?
Yeah, some sort of.
Not me.
No, that's hubby who has decided he's going to vacuum.
Oh, he didn't just fly by on like a sort of hovercraft or something.
Yeah, I'll mute while he's
okay. We are talking. We've entitled to our tonight's show is "Where Have All the Cowboys Gone?" Meaning, we are wondering, is there room for and what has happened to, and all sorts of questions around the classic. We will probably trend a little toward the manly superhero or hero rather, but the classic style hero, a bit maybe perhaps a bit more cut and dry, and it does not necessarily Vic doesn't necessarily have to mean Western. We're putting cowboy in quotes,
which is appropriate that I'm a Texas.
Yeah, this is good. This is perfect. Putting cowboy in quotes. So heroes, very much like Indiana Jones. Yes, John Wayne, but then. The action heroes like John McClane and Die Hard and maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger and is that Rob?
Parker.
Who's
Parker?
in?
You're not familiar with Parker? Okay.
I must not be. What did I miss?
Okay. I don't know a lot about him either, but
okay.
I know he's one of those kind of heroes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Masked Men of Mystery, perhaps. Yeah.
Threw an obscure one out there.
I want to see Parker. Hero. Let's see.
Well, it was done as a comic book. It was done as a comic book. Cook. I'm losing his name. I can't think of his name. Well, I brought everything to
Darwin
a
Cook.
raging halt, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yep. Brought everything to a screeching halt.
Yep.
So my fear, and perhaps I'm overthinking it. Spirit, the Clock, and the Crimson Avenger. Is it Darwin Cook? Rob. Okay, we'll have
Darwin
look him up.
Thank you. Yes.
Get some information. Yep. We might have to delve into some classic ideas, just describing these sorts of things, laying the foundation of what makes a manly superhero or a womanly superhero. And it gets kind of tough because those ideals have changed over thousands of years. They ebb and flow with what's virtuous and what's important. I do like there's a great website that I like, this is a shameless plug for a website I like. It's called The Art of Manliness. .com and it's a great website for it's all skills and stuff about being virtuous, and it's not being a boorish brute. It's about just being a good man and defining manliness as having courage and loyalty, industry, resiliency, resolution, personal responsibility, self-reliance, integrity, sacrifice, and those are all great characteristics of any person. And I feel like just like any genre, any idea within a story, they all ebb and flow. Like Westerns ebb and flow in their popularity, sci-fi ebb and flow, fantasy. They all horror movies, but also the leading hero. Those styles. The 80s, we seem to have tons and tons of action-packed, manly, punch and kick, blow up movies, and then we go through cycles where they're not as popular, and then they're back.
They always make a comeback.
Yeah, and they do seem to stand the test of time. And Pop says hello. Yep.
Hi, Pops.
Hey, Pops.
And they do stand the test of time, and they do seem to they never really go fully out of popularity. So what makes the really good, likable heroes? What ruins it for others? And then when they try, when I say they, and the storytellers at whatever level, if it's, we're going from writer to the executive level that can ruin a story, what ruins it? I know there's a lot in that question there. So let's start with some examples of.
You're gonna have to handle
right.
it by yourselves now, guys.
We got it. Enjoy dinner. See you.
We'll see you.
Right, steak podcast. Steak.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Have fun. So what, Barb? It can be womanly as well. So what makes them good, strong, virtuous heroes? And when I say heroes, I mean protagonists. They don't need to be action heroes. They don't need to be blowing things up.
Well, we kind of touched on this before we came live, and I am not probably your typical woman fan that wants to see tons of women protagonists. Because when I read a story or a comic book or something like that, I want to fall in love. And so I want good, strong male protagonists. Now, I like female protagonists as well. I love the Black Widow. And women like that. But I want it balanced out. I want a good, strong woman and a good, strong man. Because I want to feel like I am falling in love or just, really liking this person. I want a protagonist who has a good moral sense of right and wrong. I want them to be strong. I want them to have a sense that they are willing to sacrifice. That they have a softer side. I really get turned off by the anti-hero that is so anti that you can't like him for some reason. Any reason. And that doesn't mean I don't like anti-heroes. I mean, like Iron Man is an anti-hero because he's rich and he's arrogant, but he's also got so many hidden layers that it humanizes him. I like Deadpool. He's an anti-hero, but yet all the bullshit that he, can I say that? I just walking the line here, that he spews, and all the comebacks and the stuff that he does, underlying it is a sense of right and wrong. He will ultimately always do the right thing. So that's a huge thing for me. It doesn't help it doesn't hurt if they're really good looking. Yeah,
that can be helpful. So I think we're in the same. We got our one swear word in. Vic says, yeah, that's our one. I think we're on the same page, you and I. It's tough to nail down exactly because things do, cultural things change. I mean, we can look at James Bond.
I'm going to hear a lot of flack about this from all the women.
But, whatever. We have our feelings. The James Bond is one. Honestly, there are times if you look at the 60s and say he smacks a woman on her rump, and he just leads him into the bedroom, and Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of squeaky for me.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
But
That
as a
makes me roll my eyes because I'm like,
yeah. I mean, we could argue. I mean, Tony Stark too. Just perhaps he's alluring because of who he is, and he's suave and he lures women in. I don't know, but
a lot of that's a facade, though.
yeah, yeah.
Because he's very insecure, actually.
Oh, and that's why he's a deeper character. And so we've talked a lot about how more two-dimensional characters from even 100 years ago, when we're talking like in the relatively modern storytelling era, they had to get deeper. They had to get more three-dimensional. And so you do have to add facets to them, give them flaws, give them personal problems to work with, give them phobias, give them addictions, and
we have seen that, as Vic is pointing out here, James Bond, from the beginning of the James Bond movies, he was very two-dimensional. He was, all action. He never got a scratch,
right?
And he was always like super slick, super suave. Just he could snap his fingers, and the woman would jump into his bed, and he never did anything wrong.
Right.
He was too perfect. And as the years have progressed through the James Bond movies, we have seen that they have made him more human. He does get beat up now, and he does show his age, and he does fall in love and lose the girl. And he isn't perfect. He has a past. And that's more believable to me.
And you do have to walk a fine line too with that, because when we're talking action movies, sometimes they do need to be. I mean, he's getting shot at by 1,000 soldiers with machine guns. He gets away with it, but he does need to be a little bit bulletproof. But you're right; it does make a much more interesting character when we bring in the flaws. And so we, Adam Laurie here saying, yeah, I like clear, good heroes and evil villains without the moral relativism, and a little bit of gray morality in small doses. Yeah, sometimes when a good story does throw in that tough decision for a character, that's tough to do, because sometimes you have to have your character make choose the lesser of two
morally
evils.
gray decisions.
Yeah,
and I don't mind them doing that either. If it comes down to it, and you're faced with killing somebody, or risking your family, kill them.
Yeah. And those are the tough decisions, and those do make for good moments in stories. I just finished a couple weeks ago, Barb, we talked about, I think you've read it too, the 1 second after that EMP strike story. He has to he makes a really tough decision to
protect his community.
And then his daughter after that, because he wants to protect his community, but then he's almost willing to give all of that up for his daughter. And he knows that some of his decisions could cause many people to die, and he even considers it. He weighs that, because he could grab. I don't want to ruin his daughter needs insulin, and he could grab all the insulin up. And another thing he has
to do is you have to put your compassion back. In something like that. He's a really good man. He's military, and he's got this community to keep safe. But right on the other side of the barricades is a highway with all these refugees. He can't take them all in.
Right.
He has to turn them away, because it's either turn them away or they all starve. Yeah. And so you have to make that horrible, morally gray decision to turn away.
And
but it's the right decision in the end.
Yeah, it is, and he has to put people's lives at risk. He knows people are going to die because of his decisions, but he's a great example of the cowboy hero that's resilient, tough, virtuous. He has a moment where a woman throws herself at him. to get preferential treatment, and he has to say no. So as far as characters, I feel like the question for me is, as I wonder why do stories deviate so far and try to shoehorn in these, like you were saying, these anti-heroes that have no redeeming qualities, or they try to ruin, and I'm going to say they try to ruin things like Indiana Jones and the action heroes by sometimes, and maybe for lack of a better word, feminizing the male hero, emasculating him. Because I think time has shown, and if we're just looking at box office numbers or sales numbers, these classic heroes are enduringly popular, and they're the ones that people want to see. And I think sometimes people will make accommodations for some of these deviations, but only for a little while, and they come back to what was the
perfect example, Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
You have your conflicted hero in Luke Skywalker. You have your very strong woman, a leader in Princess Leia, and then you have your cowboy, Han
Mm-hmm.
Solo. He's rakish. He's a bit of a bad boy, but ultimately he's very brave. He will protect the ones he loves, and he always comes through in the end.
And they always seem to be the enduring character that maintains varying degrees of popularity, and maybe not every aspect, like we said about James Bond. Sometimes with things change a little with social and societal what's accepted. What was the most recent Amazon Chris Pratt? What's the name of that? I'm gonna have to think about that. But that was straight up action hero. He's got a.
Oh yeah, I watched that one.
I can't think of the something list. The something
oh
list.
Yeah, the Terminal List.
Terminal List, yeah. Absurdly popular. The everything Jack Ryan. Everything Jack Ryan. I mean, each movie has been good.
Reacher?
Mixed. Yeah, Reacher.
We love that show.
Insanely popular. And then even like Terminal List to Blacklist. The main character in that show. And geez, I can't think. I got poo brain tonight. Apparently, he
Raymond
is.
Reddington.
Yes, he's
an anti-hero.
He's an anti-hero, but when it comes down to it, he makes those good decisions to help the people he loves.
Right.
He may
will
not
do
always
anything to protect the people he loves. Anything.
Exactly.
He's very, very morally gray, but yet you admire him because he's so smart, and he will do anything to protect his loved ones.
Exactly. And so I wonder when they deviate from that. Then I keep saying when writers and creators and creatives deviate from that, sometimes it works. I'll admit that, but I don't know. It has to have just the right degree, like Alien, Ripley. Female, and she's tough, but so she's not manly. That's the thing, and that's what she doesn't try to be a man. She's a tough woman.
Neither does Laura Croft.
Right, and Black Widow. She's a tough woman, and for me, those characters resonate with me when the woman acts like a tough man. And again, these are tough to define. It's kind of one of those them when you see them kind of things. It doesn't resonate with me.
They're written well. And they also, they have their flaws. They're not perfect. I hate a Mary Sue. Do you know what a Mary Sue is?
No.
Right. In fan fiction, a Mary Sue is a woman that has it all. Perfect woman.
Okay.
All the men fall in love with her. She's great at everything.
Okay.
She knows everything. That's perfect. I cannot stand those characters. I think Ripley was amazing because she had to rise to the occasion. And there was a cat. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's the same with Captain Marvel. There was a cat, Goose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you just throw a cat and a woman in there, and it's all right. The film is made. It's great.
Right.
But no, I like strong women. But when you know going in that this is going to be a show featuring a woman protagonist,
Yeah.
you're not surprised when they come out of the woodwork and all of a sudden steal a show. One of the things, and this again, I am going to get so much flack from the feminists from this. I'm a feminist. I mean, I am, but I also am a realist. When they changed canon literature in the Lord of the Rings to bring in more female, strong females, they changed canon in order to fit the current narrative, the current aesthetic, political and social narrative. So they added a bunch of stuff that wasn't in the original books.
Right,
Now I'm a purist. That bugged me. Yes, I can appreciate the fact that there were, some good, strong women characters in there. I can appreciate that, but that wasn't in the book. So you are throwing them in there as token females, and that bothers me. I don't want a token female. I want, the strong woman to be there because that's what's supposed to happen.
And I think what bothers me. Well, just a second. Vic says he's fine with a masculine acting female character. Vic, I am too. It just seems like there's a right recipe for it, and sometimes it just doesn't. It seems forced. And I think like kind of what Barb is saying, where they take the female and they shoehorn her into a kind of a trope or a role that doesn't quite fit. I don't know. Some of them do it right. Some of them just drive me nuts. And what Barb is saying is they take they force it into a story where it wasn't originally there or doesn't need to be. And what I think is it's always there are stories with great, strong female characters so you don't need to change another one to make it work when you already had a great story. Brent, speaking of strong female characters, good evening, sir. It's nice to see you.
Yes.
We were talking about going back to a Mary Sue. Where do Adam? Yeah, hyper competent for no reason, not earned. Yeah, can do anything and everything. And they're all powerful, omnipotent. And Vic says, yeah, changing canon is annoying and poorly written. That's different. It just seems like with Brent, we are talking, asking how the classic, and generally I'm leaning towards being a man myself, generally the manly classic character of the strong action hero or the strong classic hero, but then how that fits into modern storytelling and frequently how it gets changed and from box office numbers and sales numbers seems like it doesn't always work. It seems, and again, I could be wrong. I could be an idiot. But it seems like whenever they deviate, and when I say they, movie makers, comic book makers, book writers, book creators, when they deviate from that classic virtuous hero, doesn't always seem to go well. You can have an anti-hero, but and you might not always need a redeeming quality. You might have them. You could have a popular character that just is awful. But deviating from the classic virtuous hero is chancy. It's a risk.
Right. And we discussed having the virtuous hero having to do despicable things, but for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So
which
you're
is
doing
where
morally gray things.
Vic said,
making the hard choices.
Scumbag gets the pine box. Yeah, if you got to make a tough, if it's two awful choices and the one saves your family and one means killing somebody or something like that, yeah, the hero.
And it's okay to have cowgirls as opposed to cowboys,
Yeah.
but they have to fit. They have to fit the narrative, or the story, going in that the story is going to be about them.
Right.
And again, this goes back to Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, or the Black Widow, or Alien, where you knew that they are going to be the protagonists. But shoehorning, we discussed this too. I hated the Lord of the Rings where they shoehorned a bunch of women in, and it was not canon. That wasn't like that in the books, but they shoehorned them in, and I call them a token woman. And being a woman, that bugs me because I have been the token woman so many times, on comic book panels at conventions, wow, we have all these men. We should throw a woman on here. Oh, let's get Barb to do it. Yes, I'm a token woman. That woman. Yes, it's great to be on a panel, but I want to be there because I contribute something valuable, not because they need a gender.
And maybe and so sometimes okay, I'm a guy, and I have opinions on some female topics or whatever. Okay, but bring me because I'm me, and Barb have you because you're you, and sure maybe you might have a female opinion on a female thing because that's unavoidable, but you're just you. So
I want to be there for my artistic skills, not for my gender. I was going to say something more lewd, but I curbed my.
So maybe it's just a matter of when having a character in a story, have the character be the character. I don't know how to put it in words. It's just one of those things. Like it's just like Ripley. It's just got it as a strong female character, and then the women Ghostbusters movie was just awful. It wasn't because it was women. It's just an awful movie. And what made it awful? I don't know. Were they trying to make them too much like the male characters were, and then they weren't, and everybody, it's just jarring, or was it just an awful movie? I'm not sure. Vic, I have not read Torpedo 1936. I have not read that. I will look that up. Is it a comic book? Tommy says, driving by, we are looking good. We are, as always, looking good. Thank you. Vic says, hey, Tommy. And wait. Okay. Vic, Western where a prostitute is a hero. That is a tale as old as time. That is practically biblical.
But that's been done. Raquel Welch.
Song as old as rhyme.
Thank you, Brent. And Tommy says, "Yep, the Vic and Tommy show." Okay, I like that. And yes, if I was just thrown in as an afterthought, it would feel disrespectful. And we're talking about Tommy's old, just Vic and Tommy talking about inking, the Inky show. Inky. Okay, I got nothing. Vic and
so Brent, what is your opinion on the classic cowboy type of hero? Doesn't have to actually be a cowboy type of hero.
Well, to tell you the truth, I feel like the best characters in movies and TVs and TV and comics aren't. It's when you take a stock character and then you mess around with them. So, I mean, they talk about the alpha male action movies of the 80s, which was kind of an interesting thing because they were almost interesting by their blandness. The Terminator barely had any lines at all. Rambo was the same. But the one, but then you think of John McClane from the Die Hard movies, where he actually had a personality. He had a wife who was in danger. Suddenly the stakes were up, and he seemed scared. I mean, part of the whole appeal of John McClane was that he was out of his league the whole time. he should have been killed 20 times over. You never thought that about Rambo. I mean, he never even seemed bothered. He was just really good at what he did. But I feel like we've come somewhere since then, because people are saying, I'm okay with a classic hero, but they have to have something about them that I relate to.
Yeah.
And I just saw for the first time The Searchers with John Wayne.
John Wayne, Natalie Wood.
I was genuinely taken aback by how complex the story was, because it was about a guy who comes back to his family after the Civil War, but the Indians, so-called in the movie, kill most of the family and take a couple of the girls prisoner, and he spends the next few years trying to chase them down. And you have this complexity of, here's a square-jawed hero, but he's fighting for something that he wants against people who also want what they want. And if they were just like, they're Indians, kill them all, and everybody is happy. I mean, it was like they were leaving that story behind. But The Searchers came out in the 50s. So even back then, you had this concept of the square-jawed stock character hero, but stories really start to take off when you just start messing around with them a little bit. You know, if all they are virtuous,
he has to learn to accept that his niece.
Yeah.
What Natalie Wood played, and she was happy with the Indians.
Yeah.
She didn't want and then
this whole quest on its head. And at that point you're going, whoa, I'm not really watching what I thought I was watching. And that's when you know you got a good story in your hands. Like, Westerns were made a dime a dozen back then.
Mm-hmm.
The square-jawed hero was in every movie, but we only remember a bare handful of them. And the ones that we remember a lot of times are because they took what you thought you were getting and messed it up. So what am I trying to say here? I don't know.
That they need to have some complexity.
Yes,
complexity. And they need to be relatable. And we touched on that earlier.
Yeah. I would say
morally gray areas.
Yeah. Well, and morally gray is cool too. I will say a tendency I feel today is that too many creators think morally gray means full on dark.
Yeah.
And I disagree. I think you can have morally complex, still virtuous, but living in a complex world,
right?
Which suddenly takes on a whole new level of interest for me. How do you do a virtuous character in a dark world?
The world is not black and white. The world is very, very gray. Real life is very gray.
Yeah, indeed. So do you become gray yourself, or do you find a way to hold on to your virtues and your morality, or are you corrupted? And too many people today say, "Oh, you're corrupted," as if it's like, well, obviously you're corrupted. That is the easy way out. That's cheap storytelling.
Yeah, and giving accommodations for humanness. I like that. I mean, in our own lives, we should to get biblical again. You know, we can't throw stones because, you know, whoever's perfect. Yeah, am I? No. Are you? No. So having those complex. Well, yeah. So having those complex characters is great because you have to understand, my goodness, they're human. They're going to fail personally or be faced with that awful decision. What is the decision? And they're going to screw up. The Marvel movies did it pretty well. I love the Tony Stark and the Captain America combo because they were so different, and then they had to make accommodations for each other. They had to make tough decisions, and Tony Stark ends up ruining relationships. I didn't like Tony Stark, Iron Man 3 very much. I thought I kind of jumped the shark a little, but the character side of it with Tony was good. It was a good him development movie. But Civil War put the two of them against each other, and you could see it from both of their perspectives, which was good. You could see, okay, Tony's being being an ass, but he sees this big picture. And Steve is,
being super
sticking
stubborn.
to his
He won't move
guts,
a bit.
stubborn.
Yeah.
But he sees it from this perspective, and it was good. That's good. That's just that's good storytelling. I really, really like those. Vic he mentioned earlier, Mr. A. It's a Steve Ditko. I missed this one. I'm sorry, Vic. You do bring up a lot that I have missed. Vic, you are much, much more learned. It's learned than I am. Thank you.
You're so
I love you, Pepsi. Dew and Flormonte filler. Oh, that's good. That's good. You guys could fill in the gaps between the Silverline shows. And John Wayne, worst casting for Genghis Khan.
Yes, I have to agree with that.
It's pretty bad. Yes. Barb. Okay.
But the best casting for McClintock.
Actually, you know what though? I know it's sacrilegious when I say that, if I say this, but the new True Grit, I liked way better than the old True Grit. The new True Grit is one of my. It's like in my top 10 westerns, and I only think I maybe have 10 westerns that I really, really love. I like westerns, but they're formulaic sometimes and cheesy, old ones especially. But the new True Grit, really, really good. Liked it. Liked it a lot.
310 to Yuma.
That's a good one too. Yes. I like that a lot. Yeah, I don't have a lot of westerns that that fall into my top 10s. My wife gives me a hard time because I will say something's in my top 10, and I have about a top 1,000 for lots of stuff. I don't know where in the scale those fit.
Love westerns. I was raised on John Wayne westerns. Watched all of the western TV shows. And you got to remember that I'm old enough to remember black and white TV before there was color.
We had one in my house only because the TV was old and it was like our basement television. So I do remember it. We did have a rotary phone. I remember that as well. So that was
we had a party line.
That was the upstairs phone.
Virginia, get off the line. You've been on it for 4 hours.
What was the Western show that was black and white that had like an opening credit scene that was like 2 minutes long or some?
Was it Bonanza?
It wasn't Bonanza. No. It was like the Rifleman
the Rifleman? Lancer?
He was like a guy who was
Wild Wild West. Gunsmoke.
I just remember seeing the opening credits and being like, we would already been to the first commercial break.
Wagon Train?
Yeah. Oh my, yeah. Love Rifleman, yeah. And Daniel Boone show.
Connors. The Daniel.
Barb's got them all.
I do.
Yeah. Here's our okay, wait, follow it.
Hi,
for
Chaparral.
Those of you out there doing Wednesday Wham Bingo. We're gonna talk, let's see. In a Western, follow me here. I'm sorry, I have to find my reference. In a Western, who
the
from
white hats and the black hats
are from our usual cast of shows that we talk about, who starred in just a second Lone Ranger, Gunfight at the OK Corral, Spectre of the Gun, Donna Reed Show, Perry Mason, Tales of Wells Fargo. Anybody? Gunsmoke? No. Riverboat? Zane Grey?
You mean who started? One person starred in all of these?
Yeah. DeForest Kelly was in lots of westerns.
DeForest Kelly was in a lot of them. So
Dr. McCoy.
Brennan was
Cowboy got a doctor.
The Force Gump. Okay, folks, we are in our last 10 minutes of our show. We have been talking about a classic, sometimes mostly manly, but the strong leading hero character of the classic form, and how it, hopefully we've talked a little about how that character has evolved to be more complex and thus more interesting, and even going back as far as some of the classics. Thank you, Brent, like the Searchers. His character is more complex rather than the two-dimensional. William Shatner looks like he would be. Was he?
He has
was he
been.
ever?
Oh yes.
Was it called?
He
Was
has
it
been.
Esperanto? Oh wait, that's a language, isn't it? What was that movie
He
that
was,
they?
he was a 2-bits, guest star
Yeah,
on
a
a
lot.
ton of westerns before he
Yeah.
went to Star Trek. Which, by the way, he played a cowboy.
Yeah,
He was.
Only a
You're right.
space cowboy.
He was a space. Yes, some people called him a.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been talking classic heroes and what's good, what's bad, and examples. Perhaps the classicest, most virtuousest, Pa Ingalls. Can we get any more virtuous than Pa Ingalls?
Oh God, no,
Little
you're
House.
right.
I mean,
Nope.
no one could.
Hands down,
my
you
wife
are
my
correct.
wife is in love with Pa Ingalls. Not
Michael Landon.
Michael Landon, but Pa Ingalls. So
And before that, he was Little
how can I
Joe
aspire?
Cartwright.
You can't.
Again, he was
I
right
can't-
up there with Wild Wild West. Robert Conrad. You could bounce a quarter off both of those boys' butts. I mean, they were the passes on those.
We're going from Michael Landon to Michael Landon was a feast for the eyes. I'll give you that. Now, that hair. I mean, he'd be out there working in the fields and just lustrous locks.
Oh yeah.
Ernest Borgnine was in Little House for a couple episodes, right? I love me some Ernest Borgnine. He's a great character. And so,
Well,
folks, we're wondering, does that classic character still have a place? And I say yes, because we just talked about Terminal List. It was like Amazon's number one show. I think it will be an enduring character type.
There's always going to be a cowboy type that's going to be popular because that type of character gives us hope.
Yeah.
They represent the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to believe that people like that exist in our lives and in our world.
And when it hits the fan, every story that, you can have a fine love story or a comedy or whatever that doesn't need that strong hero. But when we're talking a trial, you need the Rick Grimes, you need the John Wayne characters to take the lead, to be strong. And while they may have flaws and they may make some decisions that make people angry, those are the ones, the 1 second after Army Colonel, Alas Babylon. If no one out there has read that book, it's a great book from the 50s, Nuclear Warfare. Great
Nuclear
book.
War, yeah. I have. One of my favorites from my childhood.
Florida, it's a great book. And he's kind of a lazy. He's got his house it doesn't have bills. He's kind of a lazy loner bachelor guy, but when he's needed, he steps up.
When shit hit the fan, he steps up.
Yep. Yeah. So Vic says evolved from Comics Code approved mystery into a very complex character. It's when you put limitations on that, I have mixed feelings about stuff like that. I do like people to be able to do what they want. I don't like government restrictions on things. I just might not read it if I don't like it. And then and they're macho, good cowboy types. Perhaps they are back on the rise. They all ebb and flow. They ebb and flow with what's popular, just like genres. And Vic, I will disrespect your romance comics. I will disrespect them all day long. And if I ever see you reading one, you might get a slap. Vic, I don't even know where you live. Yes, I like them. They need to be complex, but have a strong moral code, and maybe that's it. And again, I like what I like, and you like in the words of Yukon Cornelius, right? You like what you like, and I'll like what I like. Something like that. And that's it,
To each
folks.
their own.
I don't have much else to say. As we wrap up our show, I feel like we did a great job tonight, Barb and Brent. Thank you. I am not wrapping up. We do have a few minutes to go, but before we do, I want to remind all of our viewers who did not see the beginning of the show. Of course, go to all of Silverline's. I'm pointing every which way because the internet is varied and wonderful, and there are many places that you will find Silverline on all the socials and on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, all those things. Follow, and be sure to go to silverlinecomics.com and let that pop up, bing, right there happen, and put your email address in so you get our newsletters. And we promise, we will not bombard you with senseless things and advertisements, but you will get our newsletter, which comes out relatively frequently, meaning like once a month or less sometimes. And you'll get news about our upcoming campaigns, because that is how our comic books come out to you. They come out via crowdfunding, usually Kickstarter. You will that is where our comics happen, and that's how you are the first to grab them. So be sure to get that newsletter so it is in your inbox and you are getting the news instantly, and you're not waiting to hear from your friends down the road. And yeah, I'm starting Never Talk Crap on those Charles romance books. And yes, Roland's ramblings. I think I believe this Roland calls them that. Yes, they are entertaining. Roland sends out some good newsletters. But for our fans out there, we want you to be the first to hear. So make sure you get that newsletter. And we do have another Kickstarter campaign coming up next month. The continuation of some of one of our stories, and the beginnings of another, I believe, if it's issue number 1. Yeah, Pendulum and Obsoletes are coming up. And Brent, what's on the horizon for you? Anything?
Well, Achilles has landed issue 2, has been inked, and we're just waiting to get it colored. And I believe we're eyeing an August Kickstarter for that. And Cape Town number 2 is Justin is working on that right now, and is several pages of sketches. So that's great.
Fantastic.
And, so yeah, we are on our way.
And you recently did a comic book shop signing, yes?
I did.
Where was
2
that?
hours ago.
Where was that?
That was at Coliseum of Comics in Orlando, here on
Beautiful.
Colonial. Yeah. It was...
Any shows on the horizon? Any public appearances that you know of?
I make public appearances all the time.
Every day you walk out your door.
Yeah. In terms of for signing things, no, not really.
Okay.
But yeah.
September might be the only thing.
I'll sign someone else's name.
And Barb, what about you?
Oh, I am
perfect. If you could, sign my name. Go for it.
I think there's one more page of Cat and Mouse number 4 to ink, but I haven't gotten it yet. I need from the pencils. I have 16 pages of Divinity number 4 that I need to ink and color. I am halfway through coloring issue number 4 of Sirens, and we haven't even kickstarted number 3 yet. And I have the whole next arc for Divinity plotted out. So yeah, I keep busy.
Awesome.
Not a whole lot of extra time between that and figuring up Silverline's bills.
Yeah, and mine and the grandkids too, and
mine and the grandkids. Oh my God, yes.
Mm-hmm.
See, we were talking about cowboys earlier. Cowboy types. I have my own. It's my son.
Yeah.
He's a master sergeant in the Air Force, but he's also has done a couple of amazing heroic things that would take too long to go into right now. That proves his mettle, and I watch his kids quite a bit. So
Yeah.
doing the grandma thing.
He is someone to be proud of. You are a proud mom. Good for you for raising such a young man. And Vic says, "Don't let pendulums fail this time." That was one of our little experiments with a new Kickstarter idea. It didn't quite work. So we're gonna get pendulums out there. And he's asking, is RA writing
Divinity?
Which Divinity?
I'm the writer of Divinity, but RA scripts it for me.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole different animal. There's a difference between writing literary prose and scripting a comic book.
Putting it in a book script.
So Ari's my co-writer, basically, because I'll write it, plot it, send it to him. He'll write up a script. He send it back to me, and I put red marks all over it and say what I like or don't like, send it back to him, and it goes back and forth until we both agree.
What are you working
Beautiful.
on, Scott?
What am I working on? Steam Patriots number 3 is pretty much scripted. It does need to go to an artist, so that's going to happen very soon. Have some other ideas. When I say ideas, writing some periphery stories in the Steam Patriots world, and then I've got some irons in the fire that may not be Silverline titles. We'll see. Working with my good buddy Dan, scripting out some kind of a pulp style action story that takes place World War I into the 20s. So those are my projects. Doing a bunch of always Revolutionary War research to get too many ideas that I can never put into comic book form, but I enjoy. And I'm not going to be doing many cons this summer. It's tough. We have 2 family reunions that I love. My side, my wife's side. We take a week, and it's tough to get away for a weekend, especially when it takes a drive. I'm going to attend probably Nickel City in Buffalo, and then Flower City in Rochester. That one's end of June, and then September, respectively. And then perhaps in November, Twin Tiers near Elmira, New York, down toward Pennsylvania. That's all geography that means nothing to a lot of you. And then, yes, Vic, we do love RA's writing. And folks, Memorial Day weekend, enjoy your weekend. Remember what it's for, the people that have served our country. And we'll see you here next week. We've gone 2 minutes over according to my clock.
Mm-hmm.
Brent, Barb, thank you for talking tonight. Rob, out there, we love you. Hope you're just stuffing yourself on steak at Texas Roadhouse, and you get a good night's sleep and a good safe drive, your 5-hour drive home tomorrow. Everybody out there, like, share, subscribe. You know the drill, and keep an eye out for all things Silverline on all our socials. And I don't remember our topic next week, but it'll be in the Facebooks and elsewhere. So Adam, thank you. Yes, have a good one, everybody, and we will wrap up as I click away to my end stream, and I'll do it. But before we go, always remember to make a mind. Good night, everybody.
Woohoo! Hi, I'm Bill Black. I created FemForce, but you know what? Today, make mine Silverline.